on the morning of September 14th, 2007. The timeline regarding the disappearance of 14-year-old Andrew Gosden began within the rigid structure of a school day routine. The location was the family residence in Balby, a suburb of Doncaster, South Yorkshire. Meteorological records for the region indicate that the weather on this specific Friday was dry and mild, offering no environmental impediment to the standard commute. The household operated on a strict schedule, and according to statements later provided by the parents, the morning proceeded without any observable deviation from the established norm. At 8:05 in the morning, the parents departed the family residence for their respective places of employment. Investigators later established that Andrew was present in the home at this time, having woken at his usual hour. He was observed by his parents in the kitchen, exhibiting behavior consistent with his typical morning regimen. There were no signs of distress, agitation, or anxiety noted in witness statements provided by the family. He was dressed in his school uniform, consisting of black trousers and a blazer. His transport to the McAuley Catholic High School was scheduled via the school bus service, a routine he had maintained with a perfect attendance record throughout his academic tenure. However, the procedural deviation began almost immediately after the parents vacated the premises. At 8:30 in the morning, the timeline of the subject severed from the expected routine. Instead of walking to the bus stop, located a short distance from the residence, Andrew remained within the vicinity of the home. Forensic analysis of the timeline suggests he waited until the house was empty before executing a series of actions that altered his appearance and status. Investigators noted that the subject walked to a local park, known as Westfield Park, seemingly waiting for the school hour to commence or for the neighborhood activity to settle, presumably to avoid detection by neighbors who might recognize him out of bounds during school hours. Following this brief interval, he returned to the empty residence. Inside the home, the forensic process of the day began. He removed his school uniform, the blazer, trousers, and tie, and placed the items over the back of a chair in his bedroom. In a detail that would later be analyzed for behavioral significance, he placed his blazer in the washing machine. This action would later serve as the primary physical indicator to the family that he had returned to the house after their departure. In place of the uniform, he donned casual attire. Closed-circuit television analysis would later confirm his clothing choice. A black t-shirt featuring the logo of the band Slipknot and black jeans. He packed a black canvas messenger bag adorned with patches related to rock bands. Into this bag, he placed his wallet, keys, and a portable gaming console, specifically a PlayStation Portable. Significantly, investigators established an inventory of items left behind. He did not take his passport, which was located in a drawer within the home. Furthermore, he did not take the charger for his gaming console. This specific inventory became a focal point in profiling the intent of the journey. A charger would be essential for a prolonged absence, suggesting to profilers that the initial intent might have been a return trip within a single day. At approximately 8:30 in the morning, Andrew departed the residence for the second and final time. He did not proceed toward the educational institution. Instead, he walked to a local garage and ATM location situated on the corner of Balby Road. Financial records obtained from the bank via subpoena confirmed that at 9:35 in the morning, a withdrawal was made from Andrew's account. The sum withdrawn was £200. This financial transaction is significant to the investigation for several reasons. The account balance at the time was approximately £214. The limit for a single transaction was £200. The subject did not attempt a second withdrawal to retrieve the remaining £14. This specific action suggests a lack of urgency regarding the total liquidation of assets, or perhaps a knowledge of the withdrawal cap. The decision to leave the passport and the remaining funds supports the theory that the subject intended to remain within the country, or perhaps return the same day. This was the last financial transaction ever recorded on the account. From the automated teller machine, the subject walked to the Doncaster railway station. The walk would have taken approximately 30 minutes. At 9:42 in the morning, he approached the ticket office. Witness statements from the station clerk, which were later corroborated by the physical ticket data, indicate that Andrew requested a ticket to London. The clerk, adhering to standard sales procedure, offered a return ticket, noting that the price difference between a single and a return fare was less than £1. Records show that Andrew declined the return ticket. He insisted on a single, one-way fare to London King's Cross. He paid for the ticket using cash from the earlier withdrawal. The refusal of the return ticket is a primary focal point for investigators analyzing intent. While it might suggest a plan not to return, procedural psychologists have also argued it could indicate a lack of familiarity with travel pricing or a specific plan to return via a different method, though no evidence supports the latter. At 9:57 in the morning, the subject boarded the train bound for London. The journey covered a distance of approximately 160 miles and lasted 1 hour and 45 minutes. During the transit, a woman sat opposite him. In later interviews with law enforcement, she reported that Andrew appeared quiet and engrossed in his portable video game console. She noted nothing unusual about his demeanor. He did not appear anxious he engage in conversation. This witness account serves as the primary evidence of his status during the transit period. The train arrived at London King's Cross Station at 11:20 in the morning. This specific time is the anchor for the most critical piece of physical evidence in the case file. Closed-circuit television cameras stationed at the arrival platform, and the main concourse captured Andrew exiting the train. The footage, later reviewed by investigators, shows the subject walking through the sliding glass doors of the station's main exit onto Euston Road at 11:25 in the morning. In the images, the black t-shirt and canvas bag are clearly visible. He is seen carrying the bag over his right shoulder. His expression is unreadable due to the resolution of the recording equipment, but his gait appears steady. The weather reports for London that day indicate it was raining. Yet he appeared unconcerned with the conditions. He does not stop to check a map, nor does he appear to meet anyone. He exits the frame heading south. This verified sighting is the final confirmed location of Andrew Gosden. Back in Doncaster, the procedural mechanisms designed to alert guardians to a student's absence failed due to a clerical error. The school's attendance system noted Andrew's absence during the morning roll call. Protocol dictated that the administration contact the parents of absent students. However, records indicate that the school attempted to contact the parents, but dialed a number listed for a different student with a similar surname, or failed to leave a voicemail due to a routing error within the telecommunications system. Consequently, the parents remained unaware of the situation throughout the day. The timeline of discovery did not begin until the evening. The parents returned home from work at approximately 5:30 in the evening, expecting Andrew to be present. Upon finding the house empty, they initially assumed he was in his room or the basement, where he often played video games. It was only after a physical check of the premises revealed his uniform on the chair and the blazer in the washing machine that concern was raised. The family assumed he might have visited a friend or a relative, though this was out of character. As the evening progressed without contact, the family initiated phone calls to known associates. Phone records indicate that none of the subject's social circle had seen him or had any knowledge of his plans. By 7 o'clock in the evening, the realization that no one had seen Andrew prompted a call to the local police department. The official missing person report was filed shortly thereafter. It is at this juncture that the investigation encountered significant jurisdictional and procedural delays that would severely hamper the acquisition of evidence. Initially, law enforcement categorized the case as a likely runaway scenario. Statistical models used by police forces suggest that a high percentage of missing teenagers return within 24 to 48 hours. This assumption often leads to a lower prioritization of immediate forensic resource allocation. The family argued against this categorization, citing Andrew's perfect attendance record and lack of behavioral history suggesting rebellion. However, the initial response remained low intensity. A critical failure occurred regarding the collection of surveillance footage. While the family suspected Andrew might have gone to London due to his familiarity with the city from family trips, the formal request to review CCTV footage from King's Cross was not prioritized. It was not until the 16th of September, 3 days after the disappearance, that the ticket office transaction was linked to the case, confirming the travel to London. This revelation shifted the jurisdictional focus from a local missing person case in South Yorkshire to a potential search operation in the capital. However, the coordination between the two jurisdictional bodies introduced further delays. It was not until 27 days after the disappearance that officers traveled to London to review the station's surveillance tapes. By this time, the standard retention period for many private and municipal CCTV systems had expired. The majority of cameras covering the streets surrounding King's Cross, the London Underground network, and local buses operated on a loop system where footage was overwritten after 14 to 28 days. Because of this delay, a massive amount of potential evidence was irretrievably lost. Investigators could not determine if Andrew entered the subway system, boarded a bus, or walked to a specific destination. The trail went cold at the sliding glass doors of King's Cross solely because the digital footprint had been erased by the passage of time. The loss of data meant that authorities could not determine if Andrew entered the underground system, boarded a bus, or hailed a taxi. The trail of verifiable evidence effectively terminated at the pavement outside King's Cross Station. Concurrent with the search for physical movement, a forensic audit of the family home was conducted. Investigators seized the central computer tower and the subject's laptop. The objective was to identify any digital communication that might suggest grooming, planning, or a destination. Technicians analyzed browser history, chat logs, and email caches. The digital analysis yielded negative results. Records showed no email account activity linked to the disappearance. There were no chat room logs or social media profiles associated with the subject. Andrew did not own a mobile phone, a fact that significantly limited the ability to triangulate his location via cell tower pings. The only electronic device he had in his possession was the PlayStation Portable. At the time, this device had internet capabilities, but the family's router logs showed no evidence of the device connecting to the network to facilitate communication. The investigation turned to the contents of the computer's hard drive. Technicians searched for search history related to London landmarks, train timetables, or runaway methodology. No such data was found. The subject had not used the family computer to purchase the ticket or research the route. This absence of digital preparation implies either a spontaneous decision or knowledge acquired through non-digital means, such as print media or prior experience. The lack of a digital footprint created a vacuum of leads. There was no electronic trail to triangulate his location after the withdrawal of funds in Doncaster. In the weeks following the disappearance, the investigation relied heavily on public appeals. Without digital breadcrumbs or CCTV tracking, the doctrine of evidence shifted to eyewitness testimony, known to be the least reliable form of evidence. Thousands of potential sightings were reported across the United Kingdom. Each credible lead required resources to verify. Reports placed individuals matching Andrew's description in locations as varied as Brighton, South Kensington, and Covent Garden. One specific line of inquiry involved the metal bands Andrew enjoyed. Investigators hypothesized he may have traveled to London to attend a concert. A review of scheduled events for September 14th showed that the band 30 Seconds to Mars was playing at the Brixton Academy, and the band Sick TH was playing at the Carling Academy. However, venue security records and ticket sales databases provided no evidence that Andrew had purchased a ticket or entered either venue. The physical distance between King's Cross and these venues would have required public transport, records of which were lost due to the previously mentioned delays. Several sightings were reported and logged in the case files, though none could be definitively corroborated. One witness claimed to have seen Andrew at a Pizza Hut on Oxford Street on the day of the disappearance. However, without the supporting surveillance footage, which had also been deleted due to the time lapse, investigators could not verify the account. Another line of inquiry involved a potential sighting in Covent Garden later that afternoon. A passerby reported seeing a boy resembling Andrew appearing tired and sitting on steps. Again, the lack of preservation of street-level camera data meant this lead could neither be confirmed nor dismissed. The operational hypothesis remained fluid. The possibility of a fatal incident was considered, leading to checks of hospital admission records and unidentified individuals in morgues across the London boroughs. No matches were found. The River Thames was searched by marine units, but no evidence connected to the case was recovered. Investigators also examined the possibility of third-party involvement. The theory that Andrew had been lured to London under false pretenses was tested against the lack of digital communication. It It was noted that while he had no phone or internet presence, he did have access to gaming consoles that could connect online, though no records of messaging were recovered from the hardware. The timeline of the investigation shows distinct phases of activity followed by dormant periods. In late 2008, a potentially significant lead emerged from Leominster. A witness reported seeing a boy matching Andrew's description. This led to a renewed procedural focus, with officers traveling to the area to conduct interviews. Despite the resemblance noted by the witness, no tangible proof placed Andrew in the region. Years later, in 2022, the case saw a sudden resurgence in procedural activity. Records indicate that authorities executed warrants in relation to the investigation. Two men, aged 45 and 38, were arrested on suspicion of involvement in the disappearance. One individual was detained in Leominster, Herefordshire, and the other in London. This marked the first time individuals were formally cautioned in connection with the case. During this operational phase, forensic teams seized numerous electronic devices from the properties. The investigation entered a new period of technical analysis, which police statements indicated would take 6 to 12 months to complete due to the volume of data and the complexity of decrypting older hardware. The premises were searched for biological material or physical evidence. The primary objective was to find any digital trace connecting the arrested individuals to the missing person or the location of King's Cross on the date in question. However, the procedural outcome of this surge in activity was inconclusive. In September 2023, the police issued a formal update stating that the two men had been released from investigation without charge. The statement noted that after an exhaustive review of the seized devices and available evidence, the threshold for prosecution had not been met. The Crown Prosecution Service requires a realistic prospect of conviction based on admissible evidence, and the inquiry had failed to bridge the gap between suspicion and proof. Throughout the years, the financial trail has remained cold. The bank account Andrew left behind has shown no activity since the morning of September 14th, 2007. The £100 left in his savings remained untouched. His national insurance number has never been used for employment or benefits claims. The timeline essentially freezes at 11:25 in the morning on September 14th. From a procedural standpoint, the case is defined by the evidence that does not exist. There is no body of data indicating a second person was involved. There is no forensic evidence of a struggle at the home. There is no digital trail. The procedural review of the Andrew Gosden case highlights the critical nature of time in the initial stages of a missing persons report. The failure to secure the London surveillance tapes within the retention window resulted in a permanent loss of tracking data. The investigation was forced to rely on human memory and uncorroborated sightings rather than the objective certainty of video evidence. The file remains open, with the primary evidentiary anchor being the 200 pounds withdrawn and the images of a boy walking out of a train station into a metropolis of millions, recorded 27 days too late to track him further. The failure to secure the CCTV chain of custody in the immediate aftermath stands as the defining procedural error of the initial investigation. Without that visual data, the timeline dissolves into speculation rather than established fact. The tangible records end with the image of a 14-year-old boy walking out of a train station into the rain, his destination and fate unrecorded.